What's cooking, good lookins? I'm Emma Love and welcome back to Impeccable Entertainment. I just want to make this very clear. I'm not transphobic. I'm not homophobic, okay? I love all people. I think you have every right to love whoever you want as long as they're of age, okay? And it's consensual and you're not harming anyone. All right, do what you want, all right, but at the same time that doesn't mean that society is just gonna become this free for all. Okay, but with that being said, I'm going to address what I believe will be the death of women's sports if we don't get a grip on our emotions, okay, if we don't stop trying to be politically correct all the time, and if we just look at the facts. So when it comes down to it, am I for transgender athletes competing in women, specifically transgender women competing in female sports? No, okay, no. And here is why. To explain why I stand by this position, okay, we're going to consult the Journal of Truth and Facts, okay? So you can't say that this argument is entirely based on emotions and opinions, all right? So let's get right into it. The two hormones that, in their variants, separate men and women the most would be your estrogen and your androgens, all right? And there's various types of androgens, but the most important, prevalent one is testosterone, okay? The one you think of and hear the most, all right? Now, to explain to you why men and women are so different, which will later on explain why I believe transgender women will be the death in women's sports, let's look at the numbers. In men, the average levels of testosterone in men between the ages of 24 to mid to late 30s, when men are at their peak, at their prime, would be around 650 to 670 nanograms per deciliter. Okay, so remember that's the average. It can be a little bit higher, it can sometimes be lower, but for the most part you're in the 650 to 670 range. All right, now when you get into the men who inject themselves with anabolic steroids, that number shoots up, okay, and more than doubles. You're in the 2,200 to 2,500 range. Think of your super elite athletes, okay, your Phil Heaths, famous bodybuilders, people like that, okay? Again, I'm repeating this for a reason. The average mid-range for men, okay, is 650 nanograms per deciliter. Do you want to know what it is for women? Okay. You want to guess? You want to guess? I'll let you guess. What are you thinking? Maybe 100, maybe 200. We're a little bit different. Yeah, no, it's it's 40. Yeah, 40. Yeah, 40 nanograms per deciliter. Doing my math correctly here, on average, men have 16 times the amount of testosterone that the average woman can have, okay? And at the high end, okay, without juicing, women mostly, can touch, 65 to 70 range, okay? But that starts to get abnormal, all right? You have a lot of the people who are advocating for transsexual women to compete in women's sports saying, oh, hormone replacement therapy will take care of that. And, you know, testosterone is not that big of a deal. But it actually kind of is, okay? Because most of the women, okay, the transsexual women who are competing in these sports have gone through puberty. And in case you haven't noticed, puberty pretty much highlights the sexual dimorphism between men and women, okay? Biological men and women. And I'll tell you how, okay? Back to the Journal of Truth. Okay. During puberty, men experience increased bone density, okay? A greater lung capacity, larger amounts of red blood cells which help deliver oxygen quicker throughout your circulatory system, okay? Like I said, stronger bone density, which is why a majority of people who suffer from osteoporosis are women, okay? Larger muscular frame, okay? Men tend to have broader shoulders and more narrow waists. Of course, there are the women who are blessed with those types of genetics, but for the most part, it's, you know, it tends to lean towards being exclusively male, okay? Men are just overall stronger. They have larger frames than women, and they have an ability to recover faster from, you know, physical activity, which makes sense. If you think about it evolutionarily, men were the ones doing the hunting. But those are just numbers, right? You know, what about some real world applications, okay? I'll show you. Back in the early 2000s, Serena and Venus Williams played 2 sets against Karsten Brash. I don't know how to say his last name. He routed Venus 6-2 and Serena 6-1. For those of you who don't know tennis, Serena and Venus got that ass beat, okay? All right? And you know, it only gets worse the further I looked into it, because Mr. Brash, whatever you call it, was ranked number 203 in the world, okay? So, if Serena, okay, who's considered more masculine, okay, then, you know, the average female could get routed that much, okay, by the 203rd ranked man in the world, how do you think the average woman is going to fare against a transgender athlete? Okay, not very well. So, case study number 2, Fallon Fox, formerly known as Boyd Burton, born in Toledo, Ohio. What's most notable about her career is the fact that watching her is literally like watching a domestic dispute, okay? There's nothing graceful about the way she fights against other women, okay? It literally looks like a man beating up on a woman, all right? And most notably, she has, you know, completely eviscerated the orbital bone of one opponent and crushed the skull of the other, leaving her basically senseless. Now, case study number 3, okay? We have Andrea Yearwood and Terry Miller, okay, 2 transgender girls. They're out of Connecticut. They've been crushing the women's track records, been beating a lot of girls out by record margins, and I believe that they are on their way to earning scholarships. Okay, now let's put it this way. If Usain Bolt, okay, suddenly had the realization or the strong belief, the conviction, you know, the mental conflict, and realized that he was actually a woman and decided to go against Allison Felix, who's one of, you know, an Olympic athlete, okay? She's a babe and she's a boss, okay? How do you think that's gonna go? Yeah, exactly. As great as Allison Felix is, she would get dusted, okay? All right? Usain Bolt could cross the track, sign a couple autographs, get, you know, the trophy handed to him, a medal, and maybe even stop for a snack by the time Allison Felix crosses that finish line, okay? It wouldn't even be close. And it's not because, and yes, it's because he's the more skilled athlete, but he's also would be a man, okay? A biological man racing against a woman. When you go through puberty as a man, okay, you're going to enjoy the physical advantages that come with that, whether you like it or not. You can argue hormone replacement therapy. Of course, your muscles and bones are going to atrophy at some point. It's going to take years and years of, you know, hormonal therapy to get you down to the levels anywhere near a woman. Even if you're not a scientific person, just look at the eye test, okay? There's a clear difference, okay? And with those clear differences come distinct advantages. And you don't see that many women transitioning into men going into, you know, male sports. So if Ronda Rousey, you know, believed that she was born biologically male, I 100% doubt that she'd be comfortable fighting against Conor McGregor, okay? Or John Jones, which would be a joke, okay? You know, you saw what Holly Holmes did to her, and even Amanda Nunes. Now imagine Conor McGregor. It wouldn't even be close, okay? And even more extreme examples, okay? You have Iris Kyle, who is, I think she's a 9-time Miss Olympia before they got rid of the female bodybuilding category. Okay, if you look at her, she's, you know, pretty impressive. It's a little ghastly to me, but she's, you know, okay, she's put in the work to build that frame, okay? But when you put her against Phil Heath, the former 8-time champ, or against Sean Roden, the current Mr. Olympia, it's a joke, okay? Their muscle bellies are way bigger, more developed, okay? And they're just overall larger. Even though, you know, Iris Kyle is obviously roided out of her mind, okay? She's obviously on lots of androgens, lots of testosterone gear, all that. She still can't compete with a man. Women and men are different, whether we want to believe it or not. Whether you want to believe it or not. I'm not in denial. Some of y'all are in denial, okay? And if we do not watch this precedent of men, okay, biological men, okay, who are transgender women, I will recognize them as that and respect them, you know, coming into women's sports with distinct advantages and beating us. Like, if you don't see an issue with that, if you don't see what the precedent could be with that, I don't know what's wrong with you, okay? And, you know, I guarantee you a lot of them do not have insidious negative ideas. However, that if we keep following this would set precedent for male athletes who are just like, fuck, I'm not winning against the guys. Let me just, you know, say that I believe I'm a woman. Let me just compete against women, get some money, some fame, some sponsorships, you know, brand deals. And then, you know, forget it, you know. I believe that I'm a man again, okay? It sets precedent for that. I know it's not politically correct, but I do believe that if we do not separate these categories, if we're not careful with this, if we don't pay attention to science, logic, common sense, okay, and just that intrinsic human knowingness, okay, if you know what I mean, you know what I mean, then transgender women will be the death of female sports. I do believe that trans athletes should have the right to compete. However, I do think they should be competing in leagues and categories of their own, okay? Because in my opinion, that's the only way that it's fair athletically, okay? You know, this is a bit of a hot topic, okay? I just kind of wanted to lightly touch on what I think about it. Let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time on Impeccable Entertainment.